Here over at Subscribestar. So Zuckerberg's Instagram facilitates child trafficking. Insert shocked Pikachu face here. I wonder if advertisers will flee from Instagram and the media will do a deep dive into Instagram and Facebook. Don't hold your breath on that. Whenever something's planned on Gab or Telegram, the media immediately says shut it down, and then people started looking at it. They go, most criminal activity is actually on Facebook Live, and the media is oddly silent about shutting Facebook down. So I suspect that the coverage is going to be pretty light. This kind of thing is in and out of the media very quickly. So you got these two articles. Bounding into Comics did a thing about child trafficking, a movie made by the guy who was in Passion of the Christ, or he starred in this thing also. When it was bought by Fox, and then Fox was bought by Disney, and then Disney didn't want to release the movie, so they had to buy the rights back. Disney is probably the same people who fly to Epstein's Island, so they're not too keen on releasing a movie about how their buddies are Epsteining kids. So I think the Wall Street Journal did a test on Twitter and Instagram, and they found that Twitter tried to shut down trafficking, but Instagram used its AI to facilitate the search for all types of, I'll just say, evil material here. Must not fed post, but after legal due process, public displays are probably the best warning. So the difference is Twitter knows that this is an ongoing problem and tries to stop it. But Instagram also knew that this was going on and allowed it. And then I was thinking, like the whole Eliza Blue thing, I wonder, like, I don't know how deep I want to go into, like, a psychops of you find someone who's kind of a useful idiot who's also a red herring where they're a distraction a distraction, and they what do you call it when they put someone out on a scene to discredit the scene? Controlled off. There's a name for it. Where like someone like her who she's nutty and is probably a prostitute herself, but she's pushing this thing, but she also discredits it at the same time. And I wonder if she was a psychop all along. Anyway, the thing is, nothing slips the cracks at these companies, not on a large scale. They have the best technology on earth. They have the best people working on AI. I mean, these are billion-dollar companies. These aren't, Gab is a small little flyby company. And oddly enough, on Gab, there's none of this. There's zero of this type of stuff. If the Instagram artificial intelligence is allowing this, then the computer eggheads are 100% well aware of it. And even before Elon bought Twitter, there was I think, content supervisor at Twitter, Uri Roth, who had a bunch of weird Epstein type of, James Gunn sort of tweets about kids. And he was the guy in charge of preventing this sort of abuse. And then you scroll through his Twitter timeline, and it's like, this doesn't make any sense. Uri Roth is supposed to stop this, but it seems like he would be have his ticket, for an island vacation in hell. But it was a fox run in a hen house. It's not that complicated. The left really just does. They just want to diddle kids. It really is that simple. A lot of these really wealthy type of people are they're into a lot of pharmaceuticals, and the ordinary thrills are just not available to them, and they can't just leave well enough alone and have like a backyard barbecue. So they got to take it to other levels, and they just keep taking this stuff to elevated levels. So they all like the Wayfair cabinet type of stuff, and the pizza, and the Maria Abramovic, and the spirit cooking, and all those kind of displays, where they're getting closer and closer to kind of hinting about what they're all about, and it's all always plausible deniability. Like they're just being edgy and just being Hollywood, and they're just blown out of their minds on Bolivian marching powder, and just being silly. And you look at it and you're like, yeah, this is kind of over the top, but it's weird that you would focus on this. Like the painting in blood and like naked women eating sushi off naked women is one thing, but like having a naked woman in a pool of blood is kind of that's a weird direction to go in. The nudity, yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun, but the focus on blood, and then like the kids and the advertisements with the Balenciaga type of stuff, it's like clearly there's something going on here. This is too much. And the thing is, normal adults don't joke about stuff with kids, but the left wing is doing a lot of stuff with kids. Like there's something going on here, and the mainstream's not talking about it. Now, was everyone who was talking about that kind of stuff, were they 100% right about all this kind of eyes wide shut type of stuff? Speaking of Tom Cruise, he's been in some interesting movies. He's been in some movies that kind of like tried to peel back the curtain a little bit. Like I think he's a much more interesting guy than people give him credit for. No, people are not right about a lot of like about everything, but there was a lot of truth to it. Like when you start putting all this stuff together, there's just too much to ignore. And Isaac Cappy was trying to tell people about this for a long time. A lot of people were trying to talk about all the different facets of the crystal, but for some wacky reason, the media just called it a far right wing conspiracy theory because all the people involved were left wing politicians or supporters or Hollywood types. And the people who were trying to talk about this stuff were not the most polished speakers because they were just mostly ordinary people or right wing, smaller right wing people who were trying to like have a social media footprint, but they're also getting censored in the mainstream, at least before you learn about Twitter. But they were not polished speakers like the left wing, these big left wing people would have been. So a lot of it was coming across as a little tinfoil hat, a little wide eyed. But like, there's just it doesn't matter if the person who's giving you facts is, it looks a little bit crazy, a little Isaac Cappy looking to them. But if the things they're saying are verifiable, then you have to go down that kind of pathway. So child abuse is a left-wing media, Hollywood, government thing. They really do abuse kids. I don't know how many hot words of names of the Clinton Family Association I can mention in one YouTube video, but look at who is pushing this current focus on sexualizing kids right now. That's all the left wing, and the right wing is very much against it. And like Podesta and Weiner, and actually there's two Wieners because one's the San Francisco state senator who's also a filthy degenerate, and then there's the other Weiner attached to the Clintons. Anyway, so at some point you got to realize that these degenerates have no moral code. They're empty, hollow people. They have nothing to adhere to and guide them. They're rootless, and they'll do whatever the media and colleges tell them to do. Whatever's currently in vogue, they'll just jump on board with it. If it's popular to have this Munchkin syndrome by proxy, the BLT type of stuff, the BLT kids, like all the celebrities' kids or all their sons are dressed like girls. Like, that's weird. I mean, statistically, what are the odds on that? It's like, oh, well, I mean, statistical anomalies come up every single time. So you're flipping a coin and it's always landing on its edge. There's a problem there. So if it's popular to have these, the kids, the rainbow kids, then they'll jump on board with it because they don't have a community to just tell them no. Like, no, we don't do that. Sexualizing kids is bad. Let kids be kids. Once they're of age, they can make their own decisions. But when they're under the age of consent, you're making the decisions for them because most little kids want to be, they want to be fire trucks and dinosaurs and stuff like that. And it's like you're telling them at that age that they need to pick a sexuality or a gender. That's insane. Obviously, that's insane. And don't fed post in the comments because it. Anyway, so they got rid of Christianity and they replaced it with this globalist commercialism. They're turning kids into catamites, literally sterilizing kids because the puppet masters told them to, and that the fash are for protecting kids, and that their whole lives they've been brainwashed to think that the fash is worse than Satan. The media rarely covers this stuff. I mean, so it's like you can trigger a stimulus response with people. It's like you brainwash people to have this kind of this association, and then you just association with between two things, and then you associate it with a third thing, and then it's this immediate stimulus response where it bypasses cognition, where people don't stop to think for themselves. At least left-wing people, they hear like, oh, the right is for protecting kids, and the left is for this is like freedom of the whatever. It's like, oh, okay, well, we have to get on board with this if you're on the left. So the media rarely covers this stuff. So I have to assume them covering this right now is a bit of a red herring to distract us from whatever bigger story is out there, because the media are the parasites that push this. You ever like hashtag Me Too and Time's Up? Those came and went. Alyssa Milano came and went. That stuff just was in and out real quick after about a year with Me Too, because it was all left wing people in Hollywood that were getting popped for it. So it just disappeared. So don't think for an instant that the media, like the left wing, listen, a firmly left winger, she's not going to continue to go after left wing people with everyone they take down. It's like, oh, it's a Weinstein that we took down. It's like another left wing. It's an Oprah Winfrey. It's another left wing donor, DNC person. It's like after a while, they're gonna look around at each other and like, yeah, we just have to drop this. Like, wait a minute, you really don't want to protect kids. Like you're just like you start out pretty well, and then you decided like, isn't it protecting kids more important than partisan politics? What's the color of the sky in your world, sweet child? So no, don't think for an instant that the media is suddenly cracking down on this stuff. There's not a chance in hell of that. Almost everything that comes from the media, government parasites, is a